the fisher folks at the inshore now. And that's where the problem is. So they have no place to ease themselves. And it's a problem. You know, given the history of this situation, and we know how people contract it. If a party comes into government and somebody thinks that, let me go and lock up a toilet. When there is cholera outbreak, it doesn't know party colors, whether you are CPP, MPP, or NDC. So I believe that that is a matter that has to be looked at critically. And I'm sure that upon that, we would be able to deal with the situation and contain it. Mr. Speaker, the minister called on local government authorities to support the ministry. It is true that to enable you function and function well, you need the support of the local government institutions. Governance at the local level, where some new appointments were made and there was a former new appointment were made and there was a former handing over. Unfortunately, this time around, the posture or the policy was different. Almost on the second day into the administration, all appointments were revoked. As we speak, there is no leadership at the local government.
Honorable Minority Leader, we are taking comment on the briefing of the Honorable Minister responsible for health on meningitis and cholera.
Mr. Speaker, the minister invited us to as commended their industry thus far. But Mr. Speaker,
suggest reportage. So today I have amendments done by public agencies, ex post facto December 7th. And the remediable measures deployed by the Ministry of Health to deal with this matter. Mr. Speaker, problem. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge and praise the minister for the alacrity with which he has moved to deal with the problem and not to be political. I thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable members, I indicated right from the beginning before giving the floor that we should be guided by Standing Order 91.3 and 4. Honorable members, let me read. A member may comment on the statement and the comment shall not provoke debate. 4. A member commenting on the statement shall not take more than 5 minutes except otherwise permitted by the Speaker. So, Honorable Minority Leader, proceed and conclude, limiting it to the briefing of the Minister responsible for health.
Mr. Speaker, let me make an observation first, then comply with your order. Mr. Speaker, this is the umpteenth time I have made this observation, that if we are setting a certain precedent, which is anew, I will take note, but I know that there is always a tomorrow in this house. Mr. Speaker, my respected colleague, who I listened to in silence, made an intervention, a supposed point of order, spoke for 7 minutes. I quietly checked the time. Mr. Speaker, if there might be silence, I listen. Mr. Speaker, we are in this chamber. Members have made their contributions. I took note. I would want I would want Honorable Akando's statement to be made available again to him. I took notes. MMDCs, Honorable Akando made a call on us that the local government authority would have to be up and doing, and he needs the authorities to be in place. Mr. Speaker, all I am saying, Mr. Speaker, to assist in the implementation of government policy. And I'm happy that the minister responsible for local government and chieftaincy affairs is in the chamber, so that he takes it up in expediting it. Mr. Speaker, the minority chief whip in his intervention also made the point that I am on record to have said.
He's not the minority chief whip, he's the majority chief whip.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I slipped. You yourself called him the majority leader. You also slipped earlier. So no problem. He is the majority chief whip and not the majority leader. Neither is he the minority chief whip. Mr. Speaker, I would accord the chair with respect. Let's treat each other that way. Mr. Speaker, he said, I am on record to have said, I don't need an MC in Winneba. Mr. Speaker, it is not true. He should quote me and quote me right. This is Hansard. So when he wants to quote me, he should quote me right. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of healthcare professionals, the call by the Minister of Health was for support to healthcare professionals. And when the Honorable Ladi contributed, her contention was that we need to have more of these community health nurses because they are the people who do the direct interface to educate our people. That was the call by Honorable Ladi. And I'm in a situation where for more nurses and other healthcare professionals to be employed. By this, because they have not slept on the village, the Penche, the Niefrem Health Facility, the Jahazi Health Facility, the Dr. Pra Health Facility, the George Kwame Kwanzaa Health Facility, and the Samuel Owusu J Health Facility. Mr. Speaker, these are health facilities are constructed and finished, and these facilities are providing support to our people. And Mr. Speaker, we will continue to serve the people and continue to rely on the Honorable Minister for his support, because there's a new children's hospital coming up. There's a new children's hospital coming up at Jenjazi. It's a 150-bed children's hospital, and it will be an intervention for both primary and secondary support facility. And I'm sure with that cooperation, in future, we will be able to address some of these things adequately. And Mr. Speaker, I would want to assure the Honorable Minister that just as we've been doing in the past, there will be cooperation. There will be cooperation to enable our people benefit. But you should remember that in terms of support to the health sector, Efutu must get its fair share. Mr. Speaker, without more, I would like to thank you for this treasure space. God bless you.
Thank you, honorable members. Because you've brought the minister responsible for local government into the debate, I intend giving him the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Honorable Speaker, to begin with, I must take this opportunity to commend the maker of the statement, Honorable Kobna Minta Akando. In fact, having metamorphosed from ranking member on health to the minister responsible for health, he has started on a very good note. And I think everybody admires that. But Mr. Speaker, it is on record And as the maker of the statement has stated, that the cholera outbreak was inherited from the previous administration. And Mr. Speaker, may I read for you bullet 10. Mr. Speaker, I must put on record that the current outbreak began over 5 months ago in October 2024 in Adan West in the Greater Accra region. Mr. Speaker, how do you blame the absence of MMDC from post on this? If there is cholera outbreak, it's a health problem, and you are attributing political problem for health problem. How can that be? Health issues, and you are using political solution. Oh, leave that. But Mr. Speaker, to proceed. Yes, it is true that Professor Mills, when he took the baton from the former President Kufuor, he allowed the MMDCs to be at post for over 5 months. That was a good example. But that opportunity too was eroded by his successor. Yes. When Nana Addo Dankwa took the baton from President Mahama on 13th January, he issued a directive and all MMDCs were to vacate posts. When they came from the swearing in, by the time they returned to their districts, their positions were vacated. Mr. Speaker, to proceed, even Nana Addo Dankwa himself, succeeding himself, all those MMDC who were perceived to be Alan, 134 of them were sacked. You are aware of this? The same administration, 134 MMDCs were sacked. So how do you blame us with this? Thank you, leader. But Mr. Speaker, I wanted to raise point of order to clear this. And you say you give me the opportunity to state. That's why I'm stating them. That is not the solution. Mr. Speaker, to continue, you blaming us. You are on record to have said that you ensure that no DCE is approved in your constituency.
Honourable member, conclude.
You are on record to have said that. So what are you saying? Mr. Speaker, you are record as majority leader to have said that you will not allow a DCE to be approved in the Futu. And if you don't approve this, how will you get DCE? Meanwhile, there's cholera outbreak, and you know DCE will come and solve it. And you are saying you will not allow us to have DCE there. So you don't have you don't want the problem to be solved. Mr. Speaker, to proceed.
Honourable member, conclude.
Mr. Speaker, I was mentioned.
Honourable Minister responsible for local government, chieftaincy, and religious affairs. Conclude.
So, Mr. Speaker, why? This is a response to a majority leader's call.
Honourable Minister responsible for local government, chieftaincy, and religious affairs.
Yes.
Yes, Honourable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker,
I've given the floor to Honourable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, my colleagues are creating the impression that it is one Afenyo market against 1,000 NDC. No problem. Yes. One Afenyo market, when Afenyo market speaks, 1,000 NDCs are on their feet. Mr. Speaker, with the greatest respect, this is not a time for us to debate. But I believe that the Honourable Minister for Local Government has misconstrued my comments and misappreciated say. And I would respond to him with 2 points. One, the maker of the statement himself made a call on us. And Mr. Speaker, my style is always to take notes. So I took notes on all the points he raised. So I have here the need to have MMDCs in place. It was his call. Check his statement again. I am not making a political statement. He himself made a call. So I said that to the extent that you are in the chamber, take this on board. Take this on board so that you facilitate the appointment of MMDCs. Second, the issue of Akufo-Addo and all. Mr. Speaker, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo does not come in this matter. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo does not come in this matter. It is your government in office. And all we are saying is that there is a cholera outbreak, and the minister wants the local government authority to be properly constituted to take this matter up. What you are supposed to do as a local government minister is to expedite action. It's not to take issue with me. It's not to take issue with me. It's to urge on government to speed up the nomination.
Honorable members, order. Honorable, I'm watching your disorderly conduct.
We need the nominations to be done as quickly as possible, and when the nomination is done, we would be able to go through the confirmation process. As to what is happening in Winneba, Mr. Speaker, if you want to bring constituency matters to this floor, I don't think that it will be appropriate to be bringing partisan rally comments on this floor. Mr. Speaker, Ahmed knows that we have one republic. That is the Republic of Ghana.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I need to finish with respect. Honorable Defia Makwa was allowed to finish. Mr. Speaker, let me finish. He called him on a point of order against me, and I quietly listened to him. So let me conclude respectfully. I need to conclude respectfully.
Then conclude.
I will, Mr. Speaker. I will. What happens in Winneba at rally, where we say, oh, Republic of Efutu, those are, Mr. Speaker, those are matters for political excitement. Yes. Mr. Speaker, if I go and meet my local foot soldiers and I say the Republic of Efutu, when we all know by law there's one republic, is this a matter that the presiding elder of the Pentecost Church, who has now been elevated to the status of minister of local government, and you know that I was part of the approval process. I was part of your approval process. Is it a matter for you to come and rage here? Mr. Speaker, what is a notorious fact is that in Efutu, all the assembly members are MPP members. Time is up. So we want you to plead with us.
Yes.
Then when you bring a good nominee, a good candidate, we are going to support you. But if you don't bring a good candidate, it will be difficult. But this is not about winning, but it's about the nation. It's a matter for the nation.
Honorable Minority Leader, please conclude.
Mr. Speaker, they have to tolerate on this matter. Yes, I said so. That is true. Mr. Speaker, that is true.
Members,
all the assembly members are MPP members.
If you don't have the floor, resume your seat. It's on cholera and meningitis, indicative of the fact that we are moving into matters not relevant to the issue at stake. What other indication can I give to a leader apart from what I have said? But when it happened, and that cue is not being taken from the guide being given by the chair, then we have to go straightly and apply the rules. In that case, the leadership must take it in good faith. Ordinarily, I was not going to recognize the minister responsible for local government, chieftaincy, and religious affairs, but his name has been mentioned multiple times. That is why I have decided to hear him. So, Honorable Minister, please conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to, in conclusion, I want to use this opportunity to also remind this very House that the disease we are all talking about has no political colors, and therefore it behoves on all of us to make sure that we take appropriate steps to help cure the disease. But, Mr. Speaker, it's only good to hear from the minister that the situation is improving, which means the minister and his ministry are on course. However, Mr. Speaker, there needs to be an interministerial and intersectoral approach, because in terms of sanitation, part of sanitation falls under the minister responsible for youth and minister responsible for youth, and part also falls on the minister responsible for local government. However, on the area of water, that also falls under the minister responsible for works and housing. So the four of us need to come together: the minister for health, the minister for local government, chieftaincy and religious affairs, the minister for works and housing, and the minister for environment, and the minister for youth. The five of us have a role to play. Mr. Speaker, if we play this well, we can help improve our hygiene, help improve our water, help improve our environment, and we may be able to end improving the cholera outbreak that we are talking of. So, Mr. Speaker, I must thank the maker of the statement and also fall upon this House. The President has promised about National Sanitation Day. The sanitation workers are paid. In the budget too, the sanitary inspector that you are all calling for has also been promised in our manifesto. It will be translated in the budget. So when the time for approval comes, we must take all the submissions that have been made on this floor into contribution, into approving the budget. By so doing, Mr. Speaker, we may be able to help together to build Mother Ghana. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Majority Leadership. Majority Leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice to the statement.
Speaker, with your leave, the Honorable Minister for Rules wants to provide very quick information. Oh, why? What is wrong? I have been recognized by
Honorable Majority Whip.
Speaker.
Honorable Majority
I am seeking
Whip.
the leave of the Speaker. It is up to
Honorable
Speaker
Majority
to grant
Whip.
it or not to grant it.
Honorable Majority Whip.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
If the leadership, the majority leadership wants to cede to the Minister for Roads and Transport, I would allow that.
Mr. Speaker, that is not my request. With all due respect, if you may hear me, he says he has an information to give to the House.
So,
please, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Majority,
please sit down.
Honorable Majority Whip.
Please.
Honorable Majority Whip.
Why? What is wrong with you?
Honorable Majority Whip. Majority Whip. Will you listen for a minute?
I'm listening.
Yes. I know exactly what I am doing.
Very well.
I am engaging the minister in a negotiation.
Very well.
So I'm making a sign between him and myself.
Very well.
So therefore I know exactly what I am doing.
Very well, Mr.
So
Speaker.
Honorable Comfordoyo, you have the floor.
So I yield. Sit down, please sit down. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, I give due regard to my brother on the other side. With all due respect, he should return the courtesy. With all due respect, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable
Thank you, Mr. Speaker,
you have the floor.
for the opportunity to add my voice to the statement made by the Health Minister. Mr. Speaker, it's about time that we need to speak the truth to ourselves. Mr. Speaker, the whole statement is about Korela, and Korela this year is started from Ada. And when you want to understand what Korela means, which means somebody has eaten feces. Mr. Speaker, what brings about all those things is about sanitation. Whether we do proper sanitation. Mr. Speaker, just 2 months ago, there is a whole ministry for sanitation. And if you look at the budget for that ministry, and if you look at that budget and the sanitation doesn't go down to the people, then, Mr. Speaker, I beg to differ. We are not speaking truth to ourselves. Companies are paid for sanitation, but when you go to our villages, our other places, you can see that the containers are there and they are full, and nobody is taking care of it. Mr. Speaker, that money that we spend, especially the budget that we spend on sanitation, why don't we give it to the chiefs? And the chiefs will take care of the village and the environment. Because when you assign a chief to take care of his environment and you pay him for that, and he has the people that will do it, they will make sure that there is the whole place will be neat. Just this Sunday, I visited a village called Kwalakpoyom in my constituency. They have swept everywhere, every corner of the village is clean and neat. And if we can encourage them, Mr. Speaker, I think they will do proper work than what we, that telling our mothers and fathers that we have been educated and we will take care of them, we couldn't do, they will do it for themselves. Mr. Speaker, let's be honest. Eating feces is what brings Korela. Where do we get them to eat? From the insects, and then flies, then vendors. Then the latest one, Mr. Speaker, which we are not watching, the bedroom. Now people are eating feces there, in the bedrooms. So we should check all those areas. Because if we are not careful, we will be pointed out to the vendors. Meanwhile, they are innocent when it comes to those things. Mr. Speaker, let's revisit how we are managing sanitation. We have chiefs in every area. Even if we detail them, alone, and governments issue instructions that every chief should make sure his environment is clean, we will get a solution to this problem. So we shouldn't deceive ourselves and be beating around the bush as if we are working, but we are not working. Mr. Speaker, we need to sit down and do proper planning and work around these issues well, so that we will get the right results. Village by village, every electoral area, there is assemblyman. Work with your chief, at least a small budget for the chief. Instead of leaving the budget should go there, and let's see whether we will not get results. They have a way of burning their refuse, and they can even use it for manure in their farms. So, Mr. Speaker, the way we started it and it's not working, let's change the style now and use our traditional council, our chiefs, assembly members, and then unit committee. We have unit committee members, we are not using them because of we are not giving them small allowance to go about and work in the place in their villages. Mr. Speaker, let's use the unit committee, the assembly members, the chiefs, so that those budgets should go to them. and let's see whether we'll not get the proper results. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you. Before giving the floor to the Honorable Minister to wind up, I recognize Honorable Kwame Agboja on point of information.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. I am not making a contribution to the statement, though I must commend the Minister and the colleagues who contributed. Mr. Speaker, in this House, we have different people with different backgrounds. In this chamber, myself and Honorable Gisela Agochi Tete are the only architects in this House. If a colleague gets up and makes a statement, of course, if I make a statement which is borders on law and is completely inappropriate, you expect that the lawyers here ought to correct me. There's something that the respected minority leader said, that he's building a 150-bed children's hospital. Mr. Speaker, a lot of people make this mistake. It's not his fault. And this is the reason. Mr. Speaker, in our country, by the health planning standards, district hospitals are facilities with beds 60 to 120. When it gets to 120 to 400, it's a regional hospital. The fact that you can fit 100 beds into this chamber doesn't make it a district hospital. So it is important that when we are making interventions, and indeed, Mr. Speaker, the interventions of the minority leader in terms of provision of healthcare facilities is known, and colleagues have done that. But, for instance, to build a district hospital, even for 60 beds, you are getting close to almost $19 million. And it comes with 20 different departments. So when you are speaking in Parliament to make this statement and we let it go, somebody will hear that MPs are capable of building district hospitals. Why is the other MP not be able to build it? So it's important we make this. So my point is that if it will be good if the health minister, who is one of us, can one day take the opportunity to come and read out to us what are the standards of a cheap compound, a health facility, a polyclinic, a district hospital and a regional hospital. It will guide us. So when we are making the interventions, we just don't say that I build a space that can take 100 beds, so I build a district hospital. Because it's not as simple as that. That is all the information I wanted to provide.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable Minority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, let me thank Honorable Kwame Agboja for his intervention and putting the matter in the professional perspective. I don't just speak. That children's hospital, I wish you get the opportunity to visit. It was properly designed by a professional architect. Professionals are involved in the construction. It has all the departments to make it a secondary referral facility. You need to see with your eyes. Don't worry. You need to, Honorable Agboja, who also doubles as an architect, I would want to have an hour ride with you to Winneba. Winneba is just 45 minutes drive from Accra. No, at least we'll get a dispatch. He has a dispatch rider. So we can take 45 minutes. Don't worry, Yusuf don't have a dispatch rider. It's okay. I have one. We'll go with mine. Mr. Speaker, 45 minutes, you can go and see for yourself what is happening at Jane Jazzy in Winneba. Mr. Speaker, I am not making a submission on the House floor out of ignorance. The professionals have indeed determined the capacity of the facility. It is not just a primary facility, it is a secondary facility. So, Mr. Speaker, I know what I am saying, that it is 150 got up on a point of information. He said, and you go on your constituency and the things that you would want to do and the personal effort. We all know we come here as lawmakers, But our people don't see us as lawmakers. It's a fact. It's a fact.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. You may wind up. You may wind up.
That, and I need the cholera outbreak with change of government. The cholera outbreak with change of government. For his information, Mr. Speaker, we started recording cases in cholera as far back in October 2024. Mr. Speaker, yes, that is the records. If you don't know, please keep quiet. That is the records. Mr. Speaker, in 2024, Mr. Speaker, in 2024, in October, DCEs and MCEs were at post. But we recorded cases. And so let us not try to politicize the disease. Mr. Speaker, again, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, he also made...
Honorable members, can we have some order?
Mr. Speaker, he also sought to clarify whether or why Efutu has delayed in the vaccination. Mr. Speaker, the practice is that we have a certain threshold that if you get there, we then put in the request for vaccination. Although Efutu has recorded, cases in the recent times, they go there very late. And so as and when you get there, then we put in the application. We cannot use vaccination for one area for other areas. And therefore, I can assure you that by the end of next week, we may get consignment for Efutu. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, based on the deliberations on the floor of the House, we have all agreed that cholera is sanitation and water problems. And we all need to come on board to fight against any kind of outbreak in this country. I thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable members, let me add my voice in extending our appreciation to the minister responsible for health, for coming timeously to brief the House on the outbreak of meningitis and cholera. So, Honorable Minister, thank you so much for coming to brief the House. Honorable members, statement time. Honorable members, we have admitted statements in the name of Duko Foriata, Honorable Member for Fantiakwa South, on sustainable funding for outbreak and pandemics. Honorable Member, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. This is my maiden statement in the House. The subject matter is sustainable funding for outbreaks and pandemics, which is becoming of a national disaster. Mr. Speaker, recently we have had the discussion on this floor about outbreaks and pandemics beginning in January 2025. With the
Second Deputy Speaker to take the chair.
With a specific reference to HMPV. The issue was first raised by our colleague, the Honourable Member for Suhum. Mr. Speaker, there is a next step or position that we as a nation must take to make sure our safety, protection, and safety of our people is a reality. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Health Service, along with the National Vaccine Institute, earlier last year and into this year gave us assurances on the state of affairs of outbreaks and pandemics in Ghana. They have been very vigilant in doing this. In their lingua, they assured us that no unusual pathogen were in any reports from the screening scheduled across the 16 regions. We are grateful for their work. Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Health in the House today has reported one case of HMPV in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, the need to reassess our position as a nation on how we prepare for such matters, whether as an outbreak or a pandemic, is key. How prepared are we if there were an outbreak or pandemic of any other sort anywhere in the country? How prepared are we in research, human resource, appropriate facilities, adequate and appropriate vaccines, their supply, and most importantly, the financing? How prepared are we for education and awareness of the public? Mr. Speaker, the solution, therefore, must be in the front burner of this August House. We must support the initiative to be prepared to prevent outbreaks and pandemics and to protect the Ghanaian people at all times. To do so, we must have a funding stream for it. We must not wait till something happens, only then to scramble for financing with cap in hands as we do. Mr. Speaker, the solution is a dedicated fund to this cause, especially so in the absence of US aid funding, which was greatly beneficial to the health sector. The purpose of the new fund would be, 1, maintain financial support for disease and virus prevention activities by the Ghana Health Service, the National Vaccine Institute, and other related agencies. 2, ensure year-round preparation for prevention and combating outbreaks and pandemics identified by Ghana Health Service and its related agencies. And 3, to assure and ensure continued research into the prevention mechanisms, including education and awareness and vaccine manufacturing. Mr. Speaker, our responsibility as lawmakers and representatives of the people, especially those of Fantiakwa South, is first and foremost to ensure their well-being and safety. That is why they have employed us to this August House. Mr. Speaker, the nation must be ahead in matters of this nature at all times. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
But you are not here yet.
Very well. Honourable members, our brother from Fantiakwa South, is it South? Yes, has raised a very fundamental issue regarding funding. So we are it is now time for comments on the statement. Yes, Honourable Member for Suhum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise to comment on the maker of the statement. I think that on the 21st of January, I raised a statement on HMPV, and I rise to support the statement that has been made by the Honourable Member for Fantiakwa South, that the state should have alternative source of
funding to be able to curb some of these diseases. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes. Yes, Honourable Member for...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement ably made by my colleague on the setting up of an emergency health fund. Mr. Speaker, one indication on how we are prepared to take up emergencies in this country is what my colleague is suggesting. The good thing is that we are aware that emergencies will always come, but we never know when the emergencies will come. And as a country, we do not have any source of funding to fall on other than the consolidated fund to deal with emergencies. The call for the setting up of an emergency fund hasn't started today. I do recall that there was an opportunity in this House when we suggested that the COVID levy that was placed on Ghanaians, we should think about an opportunity to change the COVID levy into a fund so that would be used to finance emergencies in this country. That will be used to finance emergencies in this country. The call hasn't been heeded to. But I think that once a colleague has raised this matter again, I think that we have to go back to the drawing board and look at how we are going to set up a fund. Several of these have come up even in legislation. The other time I had the opportunity to comment on the setting up of a fund for the Mental Health Authority. That did not find expression. Again, we questioned the minister, the then Minister for Health, and he indicated that they were working the technicalities and then other details to see how they could establish the Mental Health Authority Fund. But as a fact, we will always deal with emergencies. And when emergencies come and we are not prepared for them, especially with funding and logistics, we'll be firefighting. And it's a good call. And I think that we should look at this thing dispassionately and think of setting up a fund to deal with health emergencies. Today, we are talking about meningitis as well as cholera. One of the challenges in fighting meningitis, particularly in my constituency, is that we have logistical constraints and funding constraints. We are aware that virtually every year around October, we will have meningitis in the Upper West region. And my constituency is usually hardest hit. As I speak to you, in week 2 of the meningitis, my constituency, 5 people had died. Out of 30 cases, the case fatality was about 17%. But the District Health Authority did not have the adequate logistics to go around and do the education. We need logistics. And we usually wait until we are midway through the emergency and then we are pouring in logistics. But if we plan adequately, we know that by October, these emergencies will occur. The outbreaks will occur. And we deploy the logistics. They will need the lumbar puncture needles to be able to extract the samples to go for the testing, to understand that it is really meningitis we are fighting with. Medications. Even logistics such as fuel, and then for people to go around the communities and be able to educate the people on the emergencies and outbreaks, it's a challenge. So we are waiting and depending on the mainstream funding that goes to these health facilities and the authorities to be able to deal with this. So I think that's a good call, and I think that is something we should pay attention to. Such that in this country, beyond the statutory funds that we have a fund dedicated to fighting emergencies, because we know that health emergencies are with us and they will always come. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable James Agaga.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to draw this House's attention to the existence of a fund, a disaster management fund, established under the National Disaster Management Organization Act 2016, we have not paid particular attention to the existence of that particular fund, Mr. Speaker. In fact, when the COVID-19 pandemic broke, a special fund was created. Donations were received. I do recall that at the time, I made it known that it was unnecessary for that particular fund to have been established, because already in existence is a National Disaster Fund established under Section 38 of the NADMO Act 2016. And with your kind permission, Mr. Speaker, I would like to refer you to Section 38 of the said law. 37 reads as follows. There is established by this Act a National Disaster Management Fund. And then 38 talks about the objects of the fund. One says the object of the fund is to provide finances for the development and operation of disaster prevention, disaster risk reduction, climate change risk reduction, and other disaster management programs. To achieve the object of the fund, the monies from the fund shall be applied to relevant activities determined by the Council. Mr. Speaker, most
Honourable Member,
importantly,
how is that fund related to outbreak of pandemics? Because I think the fund we are talking about is generic, but this one is talking about pandemic. And the previous contributor was relating it to COVID fund. COVID fund was more or less specific. So how do you relate the specific pandemics to the NADMO laws?
Mr. Speaker, the mandate of NADMO is very broad. Now, a pandemic is also a disaster. So, the COVID pandemic was a disaster. And so, the mandate of NADMO is broad enough to cover all those exigencies. So, that is why I argued at the time the COVID fund was established, inaugurated by the president, that it was unnecessary. Because if they had taken particular notice of what we ourselves, this House, created under Section 37 of the NADMO law, we wouldn't have found it necessary to establish such an ad hoc fund. This is statutory. And the source of funding for this particular fund includes 3% of the District Assembly's Common Fund. Withdraw 3% from the District Assembly Common Fund as a source for that particular fund. Then you have donations, contributions from the public, etc., etc. So, Mr. Speaker, we have a fund for the management of disasters, which includes pandemics such as cholera, CSM, COVID, etc., etc. But the fund itself is starved because payments are not made regularly into the fund. The former NADMO Director General is here with us. I can't see him today, but Mr. Speaker, if you talk to him, he will tell you, ever since we established this fund, deductions were made from the District Assembly Common Fund on only 2 occasions, amounting to about 21 million Ghana cedis only. We filed several questions in this House directed at the Finance Minister at the time to respond and give us indication as to why deductions were not made as prescribed under the Act. The same applies to the establishment of disaster-related committees. When the Akosombo Dam was spilled, Mr. Speaker, an interministerial committee was hurriedly set up. But if you look at the NADMO law, such a committee already exists. An interministerial committee for dealing with all kinds of disasters. So, Mr. Speaker, maybe it's high time to take stock of the laws we have passed in this House and implement them, rather than taking ad hoc measures when we are confronted with challenges. I thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, we will revisit statement. Let me hold on and invite leadership to intervene. So, Majority Leader, let's hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there's a motion advertised as number 13 on today's order paper. Mr. Speaker, you will know that under Article 124 of the Constitution, the parliamentary service is required to be established as public service, one of the public services of Ghana, and it is supposed to have a board, parliamentary service board, under 1242. And if you look at 1242B, there are 4 other members of the board who shall be appointed by the Speaker, acting in accordance with the advice of a committee of Parliament. So this constitutional provision mandates that this House establishes a committee of Parliament to advise the Speaker in composing the membership of the Parliamentary Service Board. So, Speaker, pursuant to this constitutional provision, I move that this House approves the membership of a committee to advise the Speaker on the appointment of 4 other members of the Parliamentary Service Board. Mr. Speaker, the proposed members of the board include myself, Mahama Ayarga, my colleague, the Minority Leader, Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, my Deputy, Honorable Kweku Ricketts-Hagan, the Deputy Minority Leader, Honorable Patricia Apiaje, and the MP for Kaswa, Honorable Phyllis Na Koyo Okuno. Mr. Speaker, these are the 5 people that we're proposing, 3 from this side and 2 on the other side, to advise the Speaker in order to enable him constitute the Parliamentary Service Board pursuant to Article 124, Clause 2B of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Leader of the House. Now, let me invite the Minority Leader to second the motion.
Mr. Speaker, nothing useful to add, save that the other honourable lady that Honourable Majority Leader proposed for the MP for Kaswa have been, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure he meant the member for Ewutu Senya East. Yes, East. Of course, the capital of the constituency, without doubt, is Kaswa. So, with that, I want to second his motion without any further point. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable members, the motion has been seconded. It is now before the House for consideration. Yes, Honourable James Agaga.
Mr. Speaker, I think the exercise is statutory in nature. Names have been proposed. All the names proposed are worthy of note. And so we support the motion. Without much ado, thank you for the opportunity.
Very well. So, yes, Honourable Member for Kwada, so Professor Nyako.
Honourable Speaker, as the Honourable Member just said, these are distinguished members of this House, at least the ones that I know, and I think that is a step in the right direction. However, I'm surprised because during the 8th Parliament, I realized that some of the members came from outside Parliament. So, came outside Parliament. So,
Honorable, I'm not cutting you short. It's a different thing. They are now going to approve those members. These are the committee that
to do that.
Going to
they are
advise
fantastic
Speaker.
Individuals, brilliant and intelligent, and I support them 120%. Thank you.
Well. Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Member for New York South.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I thank for the opportunity again. I think the proposal made by the Honorable Majority Leader is something that we all have to embrace, and I guess nobody can confidently say that these noble men and women has no reputation. Only one woman, or two women. Okay, sorry. I thought that was, thanks for the correction. So then, we fully support the proposal made by the Honorable Majority Leader, and I call on the House to approve the committee. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
I'll take the last one from Afejato.
Speaker, I'm exceedingly grateful, and I think that the record speaks for itself. These are men and women of caliber, substance, and timber. Their footprints are well known and highly respected. And with this, I wish to fully second the motion. Thank you very much.
Did you say substance and timber?
Yes.
Well. Very good expression. Honorable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is as many as are in favor of the motion listed 13 in today's order paper, say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion is hereby carried. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, further to statements are made in respect of some actions at the residence of the former Finance Minister, Mr. Kenoforiata. There were comments.
Honorable respected Minority Leader, are you coming under Order 93.1?
That is so, rightly so, sir.
Okay, and I understand you've conferred with your colleague.
That is so.
Very well. Okay.
Very well. Mr. Speaker, so again, fortified by Order 93.1, I rise to bring to your attention that as a result of the issue I raised on the floor, which led to further comments and all that, Mr. Speaker, I had given assurances to the House that in the interests of democracy and the rule of law, and to assure the nation that this side of the House will do all it can to ensure that the member, the Honorable Kenoforiata, avails himself to attend upon the OSP. Indeed, I pursued it, I engaged him extensively, and his lawyers, Mr. Speaker, in a letter dated today, the 18th of February 2025, have written to the OSP, and for the avoidance of doubt, I shall read the content aloud. It's addressed to the Special Prosecutor, our redirection to attend the Office of Special Prosecutor. It reads, we acknowledge receipt of your letter dated the 17th of February 2025. We respectfully indicate that our client's post-mark date for his return cannot be any time before 6 to 8 weeks after the possible surgical intervention in March stated in the Mayo Clinic letter. Our client hopes that taking into account the surgery dated the 20th to 21st of March and recuperation period, he should be able to back to this jurisdiction between 14th May and 30th May 2025. We hope you find this date reasonable, and same can guide your office in fixing a date for the in-person attendance of our client to your office for investigation. Having clarified the purpose and length of our client's absence,
Leader,
we hope that the tag of a wanted person...
Hold on, please. Yes, my majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, what the minority leader is doing is conveying a communication from the lawyers of Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta to this House. Mr. Speaker, the rules of this House are clear on communications. If you go to Order 65, it is clear on communications to the House. Who qualifies to communicate to the House and who qualifies to convey the communication to the House? They are clearly spelled out in Order 65, and I think that what he's attempting to do is to convey a communication by the lawyers of Ken Ofori-Atta to this House, which is clearly wrong. Mr. Speaker, it is clearly wrong to attempt to be the conveyor of communication from Ken Ofori-Atta's lawyers to this House. I think that it is not acceptable, and we cannot accept communication from the lawyers of Ken Ofori-Atta to this House. He is not a member of this House. He is not a Minister of State. And so there's no basis for this House to be receiving communication from the lawyers of Ken Ofori-Atta. We haven't summoned him before any of our committees. He is not to appear before a committee. We are not investigating him. So on what basis is his lawyers communicating to us when he will come to Ghana and when he will not come to Ghana? So, Mr. Speaker, there is no basis for the communication to this House of the whereabouts of Ken Ofori-Atta. And he is not qualified to convey that message to this House. And this House cannot properly receive that message. So I object to that communication being made to this House about the whereabouts of Ofori-Atta and when he will come to Ghana. I think the matter is between him and the Office of Special Prosecutor. Let him deal with them. This House is not interested in when he will come and when he will not come. So I object to this communication being made. He can step outside and organize a press conference and tell the whole country what Ken Ofori-Atta is saying, but not to this House. So, Mr. Speaker, our orders are very clear. I object. I object.
Well, I understand he conferred with you. Probably didn't get to know the details of it, but that's the understanding.
Mr. Speaker, I agree to the terms of his objection. I wanted to do what we call elucidation, but when it comes to the jurisprudence of the House, I think he's a champion. I won't take his title from him. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the gravamen of my submission basically is to say that pursuant to the matters that I raised on the floor, and then indeed, Mr. Speaker, again, I stood in the dispatch box to give assurance to the nation that I was engaging the man. So I was basically informing this House again that indeed the right thing has been done, the communication has been made, and I only felt that I should at least bring to the fore the content of that. But, Mr. Speaker, I agree with him. I just want to rest my case by reiterating that further to my assurance, the gentleman would be in the jurisdiction in the appointed time as communicated to the special prosecutor for the in-person interview. However, he again assures his countrymen and women that should it be that they would need him via technology, he would also be available. Mr. Speaker, I'm saying this because this matter came to the floor. This matter came to the floor, and we discussed it at length. So the majority leader, if you don't want me to tender the letter, that's fine. I agree with you. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But just to re-echo my point, to assure you and to assure the special prosecutor that the man would come into the jurisdiction to avail himself for investigation and all other things that the special prosecutor may require of him.
So,
thank you very much.
Fine. I believe we could have done it in such a way that
I only wanted, you know, as lawyers, would always be asked that lay a foundation. But it's okay. I'm not litigating it. I've still addressed the matter. It's because I assured the House in the dispatch box. So, Mr. Speaker, I just end it.
Very well.
Yes.
Very well. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, just for our understanding of the practice, the procedure,
yes,
and what we can do in this House. Mr. Speaker, if you go to our standing orders, independent constitutional bodies defined, it says that independent constitutional bodies include the Electoral Commission, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, National Commission for Civic Education, National Media Commission, Office of the Administrator of the District Assembly's Common Fund, Office of the Auditor General, Bank of Ghana, and other bodies established to receive. The head of an independent constitutional body may be summoned.
So let's move on to our statement. Let me invite Minister. I beg of you. I beg of you. I'll give you another time. Let me invite a member from Ahanta West constituency. Ahanta West, are you ready to read your statement? Okay, you want to do that today? Yes, leader.
I was told tomorrow, but I can do it today. It's okay.
Very well. I believe you have shared the statement with your colleagues so that they will be able to contribute at the end of the...
Yes, some of my colleagues have it.
Very well. Minority leader is confirming that he has shared. So let's hear you.
Okay. Yes, I did. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My statement is addressing sanitation issues in Ghana and then my constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful for this opportunity to address this august House on a matter of utmost national significance: sanitation issues, homelessness, and the proliferation of slums remain critical challenges, undermining the health, dignity, and economic potential of our citizens, particularly the youth. It is essential that we adopt a comprehensive approach to tackling these issues, utilizing existing laws, formulating new ones, and engaging innovative strategies to develop sustainable solutions, whilst leveraging on same to create meaningful employment opportunities for our youth. Mr. Speaker, the state of sanitation in Ghana continues to be a source of grave concern. According to the 2021 Population and Housing Census by the Ghana Statistical Service, only 51.4% of urban households have their solid waste collected, leaving 48.6% without access to such services. This lack of access often leads to improper waste disposal methods. Additionally, 65.9% of urban households have access to household toilet facilities, meaning 34.1% are deprived of this essential service. It is worthy of note that approximately 17.22% of urban dwellers practice open defecation. In fact, a more recent survey by the Ghana Statistical Service of February 2024 puts the percentage at 25% of households in Ghana practicing open defecation. This situation is even dire in rural areas, where the lack of provision of safe sanitation facilities is more pronounced. In 2017, the government launched a national sanitation campaign through Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources to address the country's sanitation challenges. Mr. Speaker, government-led initiatives such as this should ordinarily translate into formidable achievements or outcomes. But cast your eyes around, and it is almost as if we never did anything at all. Despite the invaluable time and resource expended on this initiative, we continue to grapple with these same unsustainable, unproductive, and unhealthy situations of sanitation in the country. Perhaps a very good example of how not to tackle these issues of sanitation of a country. It goes without saying that after 67 years of independence, one thing that profoundly highlights the urgent need for very rigorous efforts to improve waste management infrastructure and policies would be that, as at March 2023, only a paltry 25% of households in Ghana have access to basic, safe sanitation infrastructure. The recent cholera outbreak in Ghana has had a devastating impact, particularly in my constituency, Ahanta West. Between October and December 2024, 345 of my people were affected, and sadly, 4 lives were lost. Communities that depend on fishing, such as Adwa, Funko, Amanfro, Disco, and others, facing significant challenges, including lack of waste management, limited access to clean drinking water, and inadequate public toilets. In towns like Agunan Kwanta, Abra, and Aponwa, improper waste disposal is rampant, with refuse being dumped in areas like Damete, Miemia, and the Aponwa Cemetery. This not only creates severe environmental risks, but also poses a serious threat to public health. Unfortunately, despite the urgency of these issues, both duty bearers and citizens alike seem nonchalant about it. These sanitation issues do not only impact negatively on our health and general well-being as people, it also tarnishes our image internationally, hinders the growth of tourism in my constituency, as well as stifles the economic potential of Ahanta West. Mr. Speaker, I note that the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources has had some budgetary allocations over the years towards addressing nation's sanitation challenges. From the Ministry of Finance Budget Statement 2020 to 2023, the ministry was allocated 360 million Ghana cedis in 2020, 362 million Ghana cedis in 2021, 360 million Ghana cedis in 2022, and 374 million Ghana cedis in 2023, including a steady increase of funding, indicating a steady increase of funding. Notwithstanding, our sanitation does not appear to be improving, highlighting the need for more targeted and effective utilization of resources to achieve meaningful outcomes. Mr. Speaker, any approach to solving sanitation challenges without carefully considering homelessness, streetism, and slum proliferation will not succeed. I'm afraid we cannot win the sanitation war until we purposefully and pragmatically begin to tackle homelessness, streetism, and slum proliferation in the urban and peri-urban communities as a nation. It is not lost on us that inadequate housing across the country, economic hardship, unemployment, poverty, rapid rural-urban migration, etc., have all contributed to the expansion of slums, homelessness, and streetism, giving rise to improper and indiscriminate waste disposal practices and the poor sanitation situation we have on our hands. We cannot continue to downplay the severity of this challenge, seeing the very danger it poses to our survival as people. To effectively address these interconnected challenges, I propose the following measures. 1, national dialogue on rural-urban migration and economic empowerment. There should be such government-led national dialogue once a year, involving all stakeholders, which include civil society organizations, chiefs, clergy, academia, business community, state institutions, members of public, etc. This dialogue would crystallize or help to bring to the fore the real causative factors of rural-urban migration and propose immediate, practical, and pragmatic solutions towards stemming it and promote economic empowerment in rural areas. 2, deliberate housing and urbanization strategy for rural communities. This strategy should see the provision of decent, low-cost housing with basic social amenities on hire purchase for rural community dwellers. 3, national drive on proper waste segregation and disposal. There must be a sustained roadblock, educational and enforcement campaign on proper waste segregation and disposal. This will immediately give a boost to and expand the waste recycling and collection industry, thereby creating job opportunities for our teeming unemployed youth and keeping our environment clean and healthy. 4, public-private partnerships. Collaborate with the private sector to mobilize resource and expertise for large-scale sanitation infrastructure projects, ensuring efficiency and sustainability. 5, strengthening enforcement of sanitation laws. District assemblies and all relevant agencies must strictly enforce the existing sanitation laws and regulations and apply appropriate sanctions and penalties